of the stories that it seems to have gotten out of the headline news, out of the news cycle, but it should still remain in the news cycle, I believe, is the story of Mollie Tibbetts, this young college student from Iowa who was tragically murdered by an illegal alien who should never have been in this country. And we're still trying to understand exactly how he was able to work in this country, even though we have no documentation that he was a citizen and no documentation that he was a DACA recipient or any of this stuff. So we're still trying to understand what went down here and how this could be prevented and why this even happened after President Trump promised us that these sorts of crimes would stop happening, because none of these individuals who've been killed by illegal alien criminals should be dead. They were killed by people that should have never been in this country in the first place. So I want to bring in our next guest, Dale Wilcox, who is the executive director of the Immigration Reform Law Institute, who has a wonderful op-ed about this at Breitbart. Dale, welcome to the program this evening.
Thanks for having me, Rebecca.
Now, Dale, you wrote a great op-ed for us this week at Breitbart that we had up on the site about Mollie Tibbetts. And the headline is Mollie Tibbetts is America's call to action on open borders. I want you to tell us about how you see the problem and what we can do to fix it.
Well, it's sadly another senseless and avoidable death. How many Americans have to die? We see this in the news constantly, and I mentioned several others in my article, not just Mollie, but we all remember Kate Steinle in San Francisco and Drew Rosenberg. His story was somewhat highly publicized, where an illegal alien hit him, and in order to escape the crash, Drew Rosenberg was on a motorcycle. He backed up over Drew and killed him. But then, we're seeing this now in Iowa. Look at Edwin Jackson. I mentioned him in Indiana. So those of you that are not in a border state, you really are in a border state. And this is a serious problem that's affecting Americans. How many more Americans have to die until we take this seriously? And what I recommended in my op-ed was we've got to there are several very simple steps that we can take that will end these tragedies. Obviously the most publicized is build the wall. This illegal alien who killed Mollie Tibbetts, or allegedly killed Mollie Tibbetts, he came across the southern border. He's admitted to this. So.
He has now admitted to it. Okay, because we were still unsure, but he is now admitted to it.
Well, the facts point to that. We should say allegedly, legally here, but he led the police to her body. So we were looking for her for a month, and through great police work, they tracked this illegal alien down, and he confessed and led the police to her body. So. Oh yeah, no, I mean
we know that he came across the southern border because that was what I'm saying.
Absolutely. He's admitted to that, coming across the southern border with cousin when he was younger. So, we've got to take care of the porous southern border. I mentioned in my article that we've got to mandate E-Verify use nationwide. Now, it was erroneously reported the first day that this tragic news was released that his employer used E-Verify. That was untrue. He did not use E-Verify. E-Verify is a national database, government database that's free, that employers can vet their employees and make sure they are work authorized. And basically, you run their name and social through this government database, and it pings off of the Social Security Administration's records and DHS records to determine if the individual is employment authorized. But there are other things that the Trump administration can do short of that. I don't know if you know this, but in 2012, in order to facilitate the DACA program, the Obama administration stopped sending out no-match letters. And for decades now, the Social
Tell us
Security
what is a no-match letter? Tell us what that is.
So what happens when an employer hires an employee they're required to send in wage reports to the Social Security Administration. Well, the Social Security Administration receives that information, that the individual's name and social. Well, when they don't match, the name doesn't match the Social Security number, a letter used to be sent to the employer and employee saying, you've got a no match. So in that case, see, we have a law, a federal law that was passed in 1986 under our first big amnesty that requires employers, it prohibits employers from employing illegal aliens. So if an employer has knowledge that they are employing an illegal alien, they have to fire them. They have to let them go. So what the Obama administration did was they stopped sending out these no-match letters a few days after they implemented DACA because they wanted DACA-eligible illegal aliens to come forward and not be afraid of receiving one of these no-match letters. It's a felony, by the way, to use a fake or someone else's Social Security number. So they stopped sending out these no-match letters so they wouldn't, DACA-eligible recipients wouldn't be scared to come forward to participate in the program for fear of identity theft prosecutions.
Wait, why would they have identity theft prosecution once they come forward to apply for DACA? It would because they'd have to hand over their names or something? What explain this to me.
Yes. DACA actually required, one of the forms actually required that illegal aliens who wanted to participate in DACA had to list all Social Security numbers you've ever used. Well, I mean, obviously, you and I have only had one Social Security number our entire lives, but not with DACA, okay? These individuals already were using unlawfully stolen identities, stolen Social Security numbers. A lot of them were using those. Well, so they were scared of filling out these forms. So the Obama administration, actually they did two things. One thing they did was they clarified that application and said, well, we just mean legitimate. So you only have to report legitimate Social Security numbers. So they issued that little qualification. And then the other thing they did was they got rid of the no-match letters. So the Social Security Administration has not sent out no-match letters since 2012.
Yeah, you cite in your article, I just want to say, you cite in your article that the reason why they gave for, the reason they cited for discontinuing the no-match letters was the high cost as a reason. So that was, it wasn't necessarily the DACA thing, it was just high cost, which I think is absolutely absurd. The idea that the Democrats are suddenly worried about the high cost of anything is kind of funny. But this is something, it's just a letter, for crying out loud. How difficult could this be?
Right. And let me reveal to you tonight, we actually sued the Social Security Administration under the Freedom of Information Act for records concerning Obama's decision to end this. And we've just gotten a response. And we just discovered that during tax years 2012 through 2016, there were more than 39 million W-2 wage reports that did not match. Social Security numbers failed to match the names.
What? 39 million?
Yes.
Could that be, wait a minute, time out. Could that be 39, and this is W-2O forms?
Correct.
Could that be, in essence, 39 million people who, cases of identity theft?
Yes, that's exactly what that is.
Oh, my God.
Now, get this. Fraud, identity theft fraud, who does it affect the most? The studies have found it affects children the most because, see, illegal aliens prefer to use children's Social Security numbers because, your child won't.
They're not getting a Social Security check, probably. Yeah. Right.
They're not going to apply for a school loan, a car loan, a house loan, anything for years. So the illegal aliens fraud won't be caught for decades, possibly. So once your kid goes
most
to apply
likely,
for their
and they usually like to take social, identities. I know from. Well, this is just the numbers, the Social Security numbers. So it could be any child, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
That's right.
39 million. Could that be correspond, do you think, to 39 million illegal aliens? I mean, but there would have to be even more, though, because I'm sure there's even more living here that are not filling out a W-2O form.
Well,
just paid under the table.
Right. This is 2002 through 2016, so you might have, the same individual multiple years.
2002? Did you say, or 2012?
No, 2012. 2012.
Oh, okay.
So we're talking about a 4-year period, 2012 through 2016, 39 million W-2 wage reports on which wage earners' names and Social Security numbers failed to match Social Security records.
Yeah, I mean, even if that were, every year those same people use those things, that's still a lot of people,
A lot of identity theft. And,
And they can only fill out one of those forms per year, so think about it that way, divided by 4. That's still a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. A lot of Americans are being, harmed by this. I mean, these poor kids, when they go to get their first school loan or car loan, they've got criminal records, criminal histories, tax liabilities, bad credit.
That's insane.
I mean, this is not a victimless crime. So the information is that this illegal alien that allegedly killed Mollie Tibbetts had committed identity theft. That's how he got his job. He had a photo ID with a different name and different credentials, Social Security number.
Okay, so yes, this is what this guy was doing. We understand that. Now, I want to also back up a little bit here. One of the other solutions that you just mentioned that was really clear is that we need a wall, because you mentioned in the article that although a wall wouldn't guarantee an end to all border crossing, it would at least squeeze the flow of illegal aliens to a particular section or area. A smaller area where essentially that would give our border security enforcement a better chance of stopping them, because it would be, we could direct the flow to a small area. I mean, it's just common sense. So I just wanted to clarify that was one of the solutions. The other solution that, you talk about E-Verify and the need for E-Verify, but let's just clarify for our listeners that there are still, even if we put in place E-Verify, there are certain ways that they could game the system too. If they were able to get a complete identity packet of somebody, right? A complete identity theft. If they were just to have just a Social Security number, we'd ping that and say, oh, that Social Security number doesn't match the name ID. If they were just to get a name ID or something, and it wouldn't work. But tell our listeners what a complete package would be of identity theft. That would be somebody stealing your name and your ID, your Social Security number, and all of it, right?
Right, absolutely. They would assume your identity totally. Which also puts you at risk because of an IRS audit, because they're seeing additional income that you're not reporting on your income tax form. So, yes, they absolutely assume the identity. Now, E-Verify can catch, say, for instance, a 40-year-old man is using a 3-year-old's Social Security number. Obviously, the age and the name don't match, but there's actually a program, the RIDE program, where states are now submitting driver's license information to DHS so that you can actually match up photos. Because if the alien didn't use a photo as a document when they presented a document to you through E-Verify, you wouldn't be able to match up, or if DHS doesn't have a photo of the alien in their files, then you wouldn't be able to match up the photo they have presented with the fake name and information. So that's another thing that we can do. The states can share that driver's license information so that DHS will have that photo and send that to the employer, and the employer can sit there and try to match that information up, try to match that.
Yeah, and that would clearly stop one of that loophole. I mean, if you had the total package, like I can imagine, as you said, like let's say somebody takes the name of a person and their Social Security number, the actual the photo ID would be the thing that would stop them. But if they took a name of like a 3-year-old, and their social security number. Obviously, that should have set up a red flag because of the age discrepancy. So there's all ways that we can insert more mechanisms into the system of E-Verify to stop these loopholes too. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct. It can be tightened up, and there are actually several bills out there that in the legislature right now in Congress that are trying to mandate E-Verify nationwide. And it just needs to happen. If you cut off the job magnet, you're going to see illegal crossings go down. If they can't work, they're not going to come here.
Yeah, no, this is the thing that we always point out. Even the critics of the wall, they'll say, hey, about half of the people that come here, that are here illegally, are visa overstays. So the wall is not going to have any difference. Well, guess what? E-Verify certainly would have a difference. As you mentioned, this is the magnet. So, looking at this tragic case of Mollie Tibbetts, what people want to know is there some bit of legislation that we can use? Can this be an impetus to get something positive done to stop this from happening again to another young woman, another young man, another American citizen? Is there? And I've asked all of the congressmen that come on this program and I kind of get the same answer, which is, oh, well, we need to do this comprehensive bill, and that they're wedded to that comprehensive bill that just seems to never happen. Can we just at least take a baby step? E-Verify is overwhelmingly popular with the American public. All sides of the American public, left, right, everything. It's just the politicians that are standing in the way. Also, when you're talking about 39 million instances of identity theft, this is a crime against the American people. Why can't we get just legislation to address just one of those things?
I absolutely agree. There are small, discrete steps they can take to end this. They don't need to wait for some major, and I'm not a fan of these huge omnibus bills. It seems like, by the time they're finished, there's all kinds of goodies in there, and everything gets watered down, and a lot of giveaways and amnesty tucked here and there. So, a discrete E-Verify bill, that's what we need. That would, it would quickly solve a lot of these issues that we're having, a lot of these problems. Dealing with sanctuary cities, Congress needs to get off their tail and get together. And, you have all these lawsuits. My organization mainly is a public interest law firm, and we are defending the president's America First policies all around the country in these different lawsuits, Philadelphia, Chicago, Los Angeles. And we're fighting over technicalities. Oh, well, Congress didn't mandate that you can cut off funding. Congress has to do it. Well, Congress needs to get off their tail and just do it so we can end these frivolous lawsuits. There are certainly steps that can be taken to remedy this. And Mollie Tibbetts, this can't keep happening.
Exactly. This was what we were promised. And the president, I was just talking about how he's fulfilling his promises on the trade issues that he ran on. He's got to fulfill his promises on this. And he's really got to step up. Mollie Tibbetts, in many ways, Ann Coulter, who came on the program last week, said Mollie Tibbetts should be his Kate Steinle. And she meant that in a way that he should be ashamed. He should take responsibility. She died on his watch after he promised us this wouldn't happen. So people got to step up. This is a very important issue for the American electorate. It's always in the top 3 issues because Americans are dying. Americans are having their identities stolen. And, this is not fair. All of these things that happen here, this is how I frame this. I say this is unfair to the American people. That's what when we let this sort of illegal alien crime happens, it's just unfair to the American people. And this is why it's got to stop. Dale, I want to thank you again for coming on the program, and I encourage our listeners to check out the great work that you do at the Immigration Reform Law Institute. Dale, again, thanks so much.